talk. Today we'll be talking about Homo sapiens Serenissimus, the consciousness that is at the pinnacle of our current evolutionary stage and represents the last degree of evolution that we can reach in the extraphysical dimension on this planet. But first and foremost, it's important to mention the principle of this belief. Don't believe in anything, not even what we say here in our conversation. Experiment, have your own experiences. To talk about Homo sapiens Serenissimus today, we have a very special team having his debut participation, Ulysses Schlosser. Welcome from ASSIPI.
Hello, Mario. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you with such an interesting subject. Thank you so much.
It definitely is. Adina Oprea from Isaac, Romania. Welcome, Adina.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here and to debate with you a topic that I like very, very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Very good. Thank you. And also having his debut participation, Patricia Barbosa from Isaac, Brazil. Welcome, Patricia.
Hello, Mario. Thank you so much for the invitation. Also glad to be here and invite everyone to participate and make this a fruitful debate, right? This is such a nice topic.
It is. Thank you. Okay, our conversation is based on the consciential paradigm, right, from the neuroscience conscientiology. What is conscientiology? Conscientiology is the science that studies the consciousness as a whole, right? Consciousness is me, you, every one of us here in the extraphysical environment and extraphysical environment as well, with all our bodies, existences, experiences, acting in many existential dimension, right? To study our life in such a scope, right, intraphysically and extraphysically, the consciential paradigm is used. The consciential paradigm has 7 pillars: bioenergies, multidimensionality, right, consider that we are expressing ourselves or manifesting ourselves in multi-dimensions, pluri-existentiality, right, considering of our lives, the retro lives, that in the lives we might have in the future. The self-research is the study of ourselves. The cosmoethics, this ethics that goes beyond the human ethics. The universalism and the whole soma, the set of vehicles that we manifest with, right? Conscientiology has many institutions, right, specialized in topics of research. And ASSIPI is specialized in the paraperceptions, right, in parapsychism, the International Association of Intersubstantial Parapsychism. It's consciential-centric institutions specialized in the study, research, development, and the practical use of parapsychism. In case you have any question about what's parapsychism? Parapsychism is a set of advanced paraperceptions, right, of consciousness, in addition to the 5 basic senses of the human body. It's a natural school. Everyone can have parapsychism, or everyone actually has parapsychism. It's a natural human ability, right, and can be rationally, willingly developed, and it's free from any. And here at ASSIPI, it's studied and researched free from any religious connotations and mystical approach. Okay. It's important to say that Let's Talk is an activity from the ASSIPI in English project. ASSIPI in English is a project aimed to promote the ideas of conscientiology worldwide. The project is specialized, focused on the study, research, and the useful practice of parapsychism. Very well. So let's get started. Let's get our conversation started. But before we start, I'd like to say that if you got any question, right, please feel free to write it down in the comment section. Don't forget to click on the like button if you enjoy our talk. It's also important to say. And to receive more video contents from ASSIPI and watch more activities, right, from our institution, please subscribe the channel. We'll be glad to have you around. With that being said, let's get started. And I would like to start this conversation today by defining exactly what the Homo sapiens Serenissimus is. That although we say that it's most highly evolved human beings in the world, I think that there might be people asking themselves what it's all about. Ulysses, could you start with this question, please?
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you once more for the invitation. It's really an honor to participate here. Mario, your project to present ASSIPI in English is amazing. It's a great work. Congratulations. Well, the Homo sapiens Serenissimus is a personality. He's a being, a real being, who is able to reborn in this dimension with the particularity to be in the last periods of intraphysical life. That means that in a few lives, in a few intraphysical lives, in a few reborns, he will finally pass to another stage in evolution when he will not reborn again. So maybe the main characteristic is that he is close to this moment when he will not reborn again. We call it the third desoma. It's the final moment when the extraphysical body, called psychosoma, will not be used again. So we, like human beings, we have not only this physical body, we have other vehicles of manifestation. One of them is the emotional body, the extraphysical body. And between intraphysical lives, we manifest ourselves by the psychosoma. But finally, after a long period of evolution, it's possible to no more use this extraphysical body, the emotional body, the psychosoma. And this is what happens when finally this personality, the Homo sapiens Serenissimus, leads this process of reborns. Okay, so there's a very important point that this notion was presented by Professor Valdo Vieira as a theory. And that means that this is a subject for research to be refused, to be refuted, to be presented in another way. So the main characteristics in Conscientiology is that this is a subject of study. There is not something like a God or something that we should deal in a mystic way. No, we are here to study this condition and to verify if it is real or not. But long ago, centuries or thousands of years ago, other people observed this reality too. But in Conscientiology, we presented it, Professor Valdo presented it in a scientific approach. So this is my first observation about that. Okay?
Good. Patricia or Adina would like to add something about your ideas of the Homo sapiens.
Yes, maybe to help us understand, and I think Ulysses described it in a very good way, but to understand how to be an evolved being, first of all, we need to consider as a hypothesis as well that we are beings in evolution. So Conscientiology also evolution, and there is this hypothesis that we're consciousness evolving through bodies, life after lives, and even from less rational beings like subhuman beings, you know. So there is this hypothesis for this kind of evolution. And what is going to be the next steps? This is the question. So now we're lucid human beings. We're here developing our parapsychism, trying to understand who we are and what is beyond this life. So here, this is the personality that kind of sets a goal, you know, for us to achieve. So what are the traits of a more evolved consciousness? What are the abilities? What are the pitfalls? Because evolving is kind of overcoming our weak traits or our pitfalls or the traits and these characteristics that kind of disturbs us somehow, right? And Homo sapiens serenissimus is like this model, that a person that overcame all these, let's say, less evolved traits of personality and of manifestations. So it is kind of a feasible thing to do, right? To have a model in this evolutionary scale or journey.
Yes, that's right. And okay, Adina, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. What I would like to add to understand the amplitude of Homo sapiens serenissimus is the idea that Homo sapiens serenissimus is the consciousness that can use their idler faculties of the human brain in a percentage of 100. So it is absolutely incredible for us. And he is that consciousness that can integrate, that can put together all the essential qualities of any one person. I don't know, mental qualities, parapsychism, serenity, tranquility. So everything is integrated in Homo sapiens serenissimus, and first of all, it has a huge ability to act totally 100% cosmoethical in everything, and to keep this cosmoethical and to keep his multidimensional awareness in any dimension, because he acts multidimensional and he keeps his integrity regardless the thought that can be found in certain dimensions.
Well said, Adina. We have an evolutionary scale, right, at Conscientiology. If we study Conscientiology, then we know if you want to do the courses of Conscientiology, it's in the entry course. It's a very important topic, which is the evolutionary scale. And in that evolutionary scale, we are at 20% from the Serenissimus, right? In terms of evolution, the Serenissimus would have 100%, which is the last degree of evolution on this planet, or actually for a human being or an interphysical environment. And we would be at 25% of this, having other classifications, right? Evolutionary classifications. And Ulysses, maybe we should talk a bit more about what is it to be a Homo sapiens serenissimus. It's amazing because as emotions are the thing to struggle with, or the thing that we have to overcome before becoming a Homo sapiens serenissimus, I think that we still have a long road to get there, don't we?
Mario, I found very interesting the approach Patricia brought to us, because she called attention for the evolutionary approach. And you are also asking about that. And Adina, she talked about special capabilities, special abilities, what the Homo sapiens serenissimus manifests different from us. So those questions we may find a way to think and to research through the evolutionary approach. And you see, there is something very interesting about all that, is that it seems that this personality real exists, and it's possible for us to observe it and to find a way to get in contact with him. If we admit that he may live together with us as a human being, it is also possible to try to get in touch with him, you see? So far, we don't have clear information about that, but a lot of many researchers got contact and access to the energies, and also to contact through clairvoyance, or even contact through the extra-physical experience of the projection of consciousness, you see, to be together with the Homo sapiens serenissimus. So I'm calling our attention to the possibility of observation. So the observation is really a very important way for this approach. So I would try to put this under discussion, you see?
All right. Okay. Patricia or Gina would like to add something?
Oh yes, it is possible, to get in contact with that. And actually, you can see that Waldo Vieira wrote about this in the treatise 700 Conscientiology Experiments. So this is kind of really a reachable goal. For instance, in the chapter 266 of this book, we have the experience of inner spring, or the energetic springtime. It is kind of a state that you work a lot with your energies, you reach a more balanced inner state, you have a more emotional equilibrium. Then you can expand your energies in a more homeostatic way. So this is also called the energetic springtime, but it feels so good. And in this chapter, you can perceive that we can have kind of an interview. And one goal is to have this extra physical interview directly with a Homo sapiens serenissimus, And maybe one step before that is to really master this energetic state of homeostatic euphoria, So we have here that this interview, this energetic consequences on the preliminary interview from an extra physical interview with a Serenissimus, So we need kind of to master that. So this is one approach. And as Ulysses mentioned, well, we can also perceive by working with our energies and maybe working or brushing up our cosmoetics as well, brushing up our intentions towards interassistance, self-development, group development, really wishing the best for everyone, not in a naive way, but in a very interessential and effective way, wishing the best for everyone. So this is how we kind of brush up our intentions and are more close to the cosmoetic flow of the universe. Then maybe we can tune in this holotocene, or this set of thoughts and sentiments of energy that this consciousness, more evolved consciousness, manifests, So this is kind of a way to try to reach and grasp these holotosine of a Serenissimus.
Oh, all right then. Agina?
I think that in this context, it is very important to highlight the main, I think, in my opinion, the main characteristic of Homo sapiens serenissimus, which is the anonymity. So Homo sapiens serenissimus, when resumated, cannot be a public person. He is not somebody, he cannot be a politician, he cannot be a scientist famous, he cannot be an actor. He works in anonymity. And this condition shows that this condition is in a way a paradox. It is obvious a paradox, because such a huge consciousness from the evolutionary point of view can remain hidden. It was like Professor Vieira said, a giant among the dwarfs. And this condition of Homo sapiens serenissimus shows that he is beyond the gurula tree, that he doesn't need to be praised or rewarded for the huge multidimensional interexistential work that he does. Well, for us, for the most of us, it is still very difficult to understand this. You, me, all of us, all pre-Serenissimus consciousnesses are very happy to, and they feel very good to be praised publicly and to be appreciated. And it is like a reward for all of us. Well, this is not the way in which Homo sapiens serenissimus works. He doesn't need all of this. And well, this anonymity is also a proof of liberation from group karma. He is also beyond the group karma. He's dedicated to polykarmic work. So 100 polykarmic work. But another paradox, let's say, is that he doesn't remain isolated. He is still in contact with the human problems. He is the one who knows best any human problems, any imperfections that pre-Serenissimus could have. He still is far of us, but his main target is our assistance, and we are those who benefit from his mega assistential work.
That's very interesting for you to say that, because we are 25% from the Serenissimus, from the position of a Homo sapiens Serenissimus. And we also mentioned something that's very important for people to understand is the karma thing, right? Which is the ego karma, group karma, and polykarma. So you are going in this line into polykarma. And if we pay attention to this, then we may consider that if we look at our lives, right, the things that we have to do dealing with people. So sometimes we have ego karma to deal with or group karma. And the more we evolved, this scope also increase in size, right? The more we evolve, we are able to assist more and more people and with better quality. So if we take our example in one life, for example, like 10 years ago, I was not able to do what I'm able to do now. Why? Because I recycled certain points, certain weak traits. I evolved somehow in some issues, in some points of my inner self, of my intra-conscientiality, and now I'm able to assist more. And if you see this movement of enlarging our capacity of assistance, then we can take this in several lives and several classifications of human beings, right? For example, we are at 25 pre-Serenissimus, right? So we are 25% of from the Homo sapiens Serenissimus, and then we have like 35%, 40%, like 50%, and so forth. And then the more we grow, evolutionarily speaking, we are able to assist more. And I'd like to mention something. I don't know if you have heard in one of the tertulias, Professor Valdo said that we're going to talk about this Homo sapiens Serenissimus today, which is the reurbanization. He prepared himself for 900 years to live 32 years here in the physical environment. So imagine a consciousness preparing himself. I say himself because he was a man when he was here, right, in Germany. So he prepared himself for 900 years to live 32 years or to do something in 32 years. That's amazing, wasn't it, Ulysses? Have you heard of this topic from Professor Valdo? Oh, sorry.
Let me open my microphone. Yes, I heard about it. And there is something very interesting that life, that intraphysical life of this personality was an energetic life. And Professor Valdo described moments when he could observe the reurbanization applying his energies like waves to help to clean the extra physical dimensions in Europe. So that amount of energy probably should come from his intraphysical body, from his energosoma, from the energies that he could organize in his physical body. So that intraphysical life, I suppose, that was planned for him to use that amount of energy and maybe a few relationships with other intraphysical personalities. So we should ask why he had that necessity to come to live an intraphysical life like an idiot, using an intraphysical body. Professor Valdo described that he seemed like an oligophrenic person. You see? So we suppose that for this man to achieve all the objectives that he had in this intraphysical life, he should live in peace, not to be disturbed. So the intelligent condition to solve the situation, he reborn like an oligophrenic. So this is a giant paradox, you see. But we may find that it is intelligent like that because he could perform a lot of tasks without disturbing in that condition. And Professor Valdo described all this situation, and he could observe it. Professor Valdo could access his holotolsine through clairvoyance, through extraphysical information, and Professor Valdo was very interested in this kind of research. So it's very, very important for us to understand that this kind of information wasn't imagination, was not hypothesis. Those were data. Those were information acquired through a researcher from another personality. So if any one of us has this possibility to observe high evolved personalities, it's very important for us to gather information to understand how they work. And I would like to recall your question and also the comments that Adina did. So those special abilities, sure, we have many of them in ourselves. Many of them. We may find in our lives marvelous people who are able to express, to manifest many of those abilities. So the challenge for us is to assume that as a whole, in a very organized way, because indeed, we are not like that. We fail a lot. We are not constant enough to perform all those the tasks in such a clear way, very stable. We are not stable like this perfect condition or ideal condition. We are not still. But we have the seeds. We have even more than that. We have a lot of very good qualities in ourselves. But we are not so constant all the time. And more than that, we really don't know exactly a few attributes that this personality may manifest. In general, we are able to perceive and to detect attributes that we know, that we may identify ourselves with him. But imagine if this kind of personality manifests attributes that we are not able to perceive yet. So this is a challenge for our research, you see? So we are able to detect the traits who we may have words to say about them. We may have also experience to identify ourselves with him, but we may admit that probably they may manifest other traits and other attributes that we are even not able to detect or to understand. That's it. And this way of thinking is very interesting when we find the same difficulty with another person that lived together with us. Mm-hmm. Since I was a child, I learned with people around me, and I try to learn all the time. So for me, as an evolutionary being, it's very interesting to learn with other people who are close to me and who manifest abilities that I don't understand yet. So maybe this could be a way for us to access other consciousness, more evolved, you see? So I'm just trying to move closer this possibility of investigation, you see? And Mario, you asked a few minutes ago about the emotions, about the sentiments, and the serenity, okay? It's a kind of state or attribute that we may find inside ourselves. So we can observe our capacity to manifest and to be stable in this condition. But this is the challenge. So we may understand the difficulty to live as a Homo sapiens Serenissimus because we suppose that he is able to be constant in this kind of manifestation. So because of that, his name is Serenissimus, the title that Professor Waldo found. And just as an observation, he heard this name in the extra-physical dimension. Professor Waldo didn't create this terminology. Mm-hmm. He heard it from other extra-physical consciousness. In Portuguese, the word is serenão. It's a personality with the serenity very expanded. We call it in Portuguese serenão. Okay, it's a big Serenissimus like that. So this word serenão, Professor Wald heard it during an extra-physical experience. Because of that, he used this terminology to apply it. So it's very interesting because it refers to the attribute of serenity, as Andina's said right now, talking about the capacity of the Homo sapiens Serenissimus to be anonymous, okay? But the serenity is a very important trait, okay? And all that comes from observation. So I'm talking about this all the time because it's possible for us. I have personally a few experience about it. Maybe I can talk something about that further. But that's what I'd like to say so far. So
yeah, that's very interesting for you to say that or to raise this topic, because every topic, right, everything that we study, we might find a logic behind it, right? Say, well, is it logical or does it make sense? This is very important. And so as we can notice the evolutionary process in our lives, so it's, I would say, reasonable to think that this process goes way beyond our present condition and can reach there. And you also mentioned something that we may recognize some of the attributes of the Homo sapiens Serenissimus, but there might be for sure some that we haven't reached them, as they are so away from. So there might be some of them who we still don't know. There is some comments to say here, right? The first one is from Liliana Alexandre. Thank you for participation, Liliana. Very nice to have you here. And Liliana says, so far, we've got the theory. Does anyone want to comment on personal practical experiences, please? Let's go for Patricia.
Yes. As Ulysses was saying, we are researchers. So if it's a hypothesis for us, it is kind of possible to reach this. But before talking about my personal experience, I'd like to highlight that the important thing is for you to have your own personal experience. And it's not that important what Patricia has lived, because this is my personal experience and you should have your own. So this is when you're focused on your having these experiences and evolving yourself to get in contact with this being, this is the main goal, okay? So here we say something just like, as an example, but please do not believe in it. It also does not mean that I'm a highly evolved person. If I were able to get in contact with a highly evolved person, as Ulysses said, someone we can reach this Holocene, have these encounters as an extrapolation, and because the Homo sapiens Serenissimus allows us to. Otherwise, because we don't exactly know all these traits, and some of these traits, even if they are positive, may be so beyond our capabilities that could unbalance or shake us in a negative way. So go for your own experiences, right? Yes, just like Ulysses, I had some right coming into the year that I just arrived in Conscientiology. I think it's 2008 or 2007, first time that I arrived here in Foz do Iguaçu. I was there, young girl, thinking about nothing, I already took a course at IIPC, so I knew about one type of Serenissimus, and we were there in a huge room, the Holoteca Saloon, room, and Waldo Vieira, instructor Waldo, was talking about his lectures or a tertulia. I don't quite remember right now what was it. And out of the blue, I felt the presence of Monja. And at that time, I was with a colleague of mine, a former boyfriend in Conscientiology, and I look at him and I knew nothing, right? And I told him, well, Monja is here. And he said that this is nonsense. You're just how is that possible? You know almost nothing about Conscientiology. No, 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 no. She's here. She is here. Pay attention. Look at that. Because I was involved and embedded with such a peaceful thing. And the idea was such I knew the personality somehow. I don't know if from past lives, I don't know if possibly from lectures on the intermissive course, because some of us took a course before we were born and we got in contact with those more evolved beings. But I was able to, in a very spontaneous way, to recognize that. The day after that, Waldo Vieira confirmed my perceptions. He said, oh, something very rare occurred here because she was here in presence. And Serenissimus usually does not do that. She was here, and some of not only me, but some other people were able to perceive. So this is the important thing to say, right? Because I'm not evolved, I'm not that special, but we are a team that are trying to evolve together. And as Ulysses said, we have some role models to follow, and we learn by mimicking sometimes or extrapolating and perceiving having these experiences. But the most important for me, it was a warm welcome to the group, and for me, it's kind of okay. These people are okay. They're not nonsense. They're crazy people. This is a feasible, achievable theory. For me, from this point on, that was a fact for me. And this is important for all of you that you're listening and watching us right now, that it should become a reality for you. My experience was very important for me, and just a theoretical example for you, but perceive your own experiences. And if I may, Mario, I can talk about something that I think which is even more important relative to the Serenissimus, but after listening to our friends as well.
Very good. I would just like to ask Adina to also tell us about the experience that she had. She recently presented a work concerning her experiences with these perceptions of the energies of Serenissimus in the Balkan countries, right? So, Adina, could you tell us, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to start. Well, it is very difficult to speak in few words. It's it's my experience, as Patricia said before, and it is very important for me, and I'm very happy to share with you as well. I will start reminding again the principle of these beliefs. Belief, because Homo sapiens serenissimus is an research hypothesis based on my own experiences and my understanding regarding these experiences. These experiences were triggered by a certain change in my Holothought, by a prolonged, increasingly intraconsciential process and recycling. And I won't talk in detail about my experiences because we don't have time. But what I'd like to say is that Homo sapiens serenissimus balkanus is the one in charge with the Balkan Peninsula, countries from ex-Yugoslavia, Romania, Bulgaria, Macedonia, and the Greek Macedonia region, Albania. And his domain of activity is the natural environment protection, special attentions to phyto and zoo conviviality, to people re-education related to the respect of nature, plants, animals, environment in general, um, mutual respect between the people living in peninsula, uh, a better integration of these countries in the European community, and the overcome of so-called balkanism. People needs to eliminate from their mind, first of all, the idea of balkanism, of being inferior, of being rough, of being second-hand citizens, and to recuperate this discrepancy with Western Europe. And what would uh, I would like also to highlight is how do I feel after my experiences, after my let's say my change, my energetic change with this consciousness, which I don't know who, I don't know. Yeah, it might be Serenissimus, but also he might be I don't know, um, a highest evolutionary consciousness as evolutionologist. I don't know, but I perceived his very special energy, very different of everything else I have ever perceived before. And well, as I said before, is an hypothetical theory. But how do I feel? I live several days after my experience, after my experiences in a prolonged energetic spring. These experiences have holosomatic repercussions. My mental capacities are expanded. I can work more and better. My mind works better, my memory works better. I make better interconnections between the ideas. From psychosomatic point of view, I feel calmer. I don't have emotional ups and downs. My parapsychic abilities are also expanded. I experience, for instance, out of the blue, sudden vibrational state. And well, I feel myself um, as a real. I feel how it is to be a piece in the maxi mechanism, and it's a wow. It's a very interesting, intense, strong feeling. And well, there are experiences that oblige me very much, that motivate me, that mobilize me to improve myself first of all, and then to do my best to to try to involve more in my assistential work, to follow, of course, at lower, much lower level, the assistential work model of uh, um, Homo sapiens serenissimus. And well, in a nutshell, this research in with Homo sapiens serenissimus balcanus, but generally speaking, this work in the field of serenology uh, has given me an evolutionary impulse. And I hope to have the wisdom and the discernment to know how to use it. Thank you.
All right, Adina, it's a very interesting experience with that we described now. And it's important to mention that when you have an experience with the energies of Homo sapiens Serenissimus, it tends to be remarkable and a turning point in terms of change for your behavior, right? Such a power of this experience. I'd like to mention here in the book, Projections of the Consciousness, right? A diary of out-of-body experiences written by Professor Valdivieira. In the chapter 57, he describes an experience with the Homo sapiens Serenissimus called Monja. That we're going to give more details about her in a while, right? But here we have a very interesting experience that he describes in this book, right? In which he says, the extraphysical female appears to be constantly focused and unshakably serene. She wore the simple outfit of a monk. That's the reason why she was called Monja, right? I felt a most pleasant flow of energy while in her presence, and the indescribable sensation of freedom and a sense of fraternity came to me. I experienced an incredibly well-contained sense of exaltation. In spite of being on the planetary crust, which is not a very good place to be, the psychosoma was uncommonly light. I immediately felt that I was in the presence of a very evolved consciousness. Everything about her inspired harmony and well-being. I would soon discover, however, that she was suffering deep inside through her compassion for human pain. As I tried to get closer to this extraphysical consciousness, I began to experience the pain of the world deep within me. And that's a very interesting part of this chapter. I recommend you that you read this book, which is a fantastic book about the experiences outside of the body, described by Professor Valdivieira. And this one specifically, chapter 57, is amazing. And it has such an energy when you read this. That's amazing, because when we talk about Homo sapiens Serenissimus, we're talking about someone who is an expert in human life, in humanity and human beings. So they are able to feel the pain of humanity and deal with that existentially without being contaminated by this pain, which is, I'm so expert about human beings that I can understand them, feel their need, feel their pain, and not get contaminated by this. It's a lot beyond that. So you are able to assist, right? There is another question here from Maria Nestor, right? Maria Nestor says, who do you think coordinates, supervises the activity of many Serenissimus? Sometimes they can change the mood from working constructively. That's a question from Maria Nestor. All right. Who would answer that?
Well, there is a very interesting hypothesis that they work like colleagues, like a collegiate. Maybe they work together like a council, and they may communicate and develop discernment by themselves. This is a very interesting hypothesis. And there is another point that we may not forget, that even for us human beings, it is possible to access the holotourscenes of free consciousnesses, those who are no more Serenissimus. And we may speculate very consistently that the Serenissimus may communicate with the free consciousnesses. Okay, so maybe they may find very good orientation communicating in this way. But more than that, even more than that, the access to the personal phenomenon of cosmic consciousness may give them a lot of orientation about the universe, the perception, and to discern the tasks and the priorities that they may achieve. So I mentioned here cosmic consciousness, contact with free consciousnesses, and they working together between themselves. Okay, so we are used to think about leaders. So who is the boss? Okay, this is the question. But maybe there is a more intelligent way to discern how to achieve. Okay, and
Very good. And we have another comment from Liliana. Let me just show this. Reurbanizer, which is the name of one Homo sapiens Serenissimus specifically, seems to be responsible with his team of peers for the reurbanization of the planet Earth, not just that of one country. Would someone like to comment?
I would like to hear from you. What do you think about that?
Oh, yes. Well, it's important to say that we are at the moment in a reurbanization process in the planet, right? It's important to say that we live in a hospital planet, which it needs lots of assistance, right? We are still struggling to improve ourselves as human beings. And this process is it's very important at this right moment, right? So let's have some idea about the reurbanization now, right? As we are seeing so much, actually, the last century and this century was the most critical centuries in history. We have the First World War, the Second World War, and other conflicts. And we're still at the moment having a conflict in this planet, right? Not mention movements like terrorism, military dictatorship, and so forth. So we are living now a very critical urbanizing moment, but it's extremely necessary for the evolution of human beings. Okay, Patricia, do you like to add some other ideas on this, please?
Yes, maybe how to take advantage of this moment, right? Because I think a lot of was said about the reurbanizer. And the thing is, we as many pieces, how can we better connect with this Team X or extra physical team and make this connection between our work as volunteers, making this effort, as Adina said, to be better and be a mini piece in this max mechanism, because the reurbanization, in a nutshell, is just a lot of actions, a lot of movements to make this planet better as a whole, you know. So a lot of group works, intra and extra physical, to try to bring the planet to another evolutionary level. And how do we can connect with this extra physical team and be a mini piece in this reurbanization process? So maybe through this, conscientiology is one of the approaches, building this new science that are clarifying and enlightening people about their parapsychic abilities and our, let's say, kind of true nature, because we're not just the product of a brain. This is an important thing, this consciousness evolution, right?
Very good. We have another comment from Liliana Alexandri. Very interesting. This logical assumption, a Serenissimus consciousness may well have traits we cannot yet even relate to. I think it was something that Ulysses said, right, some time ago. And she's making this comment. Also, all have words to define. And here we go with one more. Constancy and stability are also very important traits.
Let me tell you something very fast about that, Mario. Years ago, Professor Valdo asked me to try to research something like that. And right now, I have the hypothesis that the Homo sapiens Serenissimus is able to operate intuitions. In general, human beings, we operate thoughts. You see, we operate our thoughts. But I suppose that the Serenissimus is able to operate intuitions and to perceive and to operate like that. And maybe this could be more interesting, more important than operate thoughts. because that means to operate direct perceptions all the time without the necessity to process this kind of information. So I'm working with this hypothesis right now because I feel something like that when I'm in different states. So it's hard to imagine for us one intuition, but imagine a consciousness able to operate many different intuitions at the same time, you see? So for us, it's very hard to imagine this condition.
All right, let me show some comments. Monja is a nun. According to Professor Waldwieder, who had contact with her, she appeared as a monk, right? Wearing clothes of a monk, not exactly a nun. And Monja is a sponsor of neuroscience Conscientiology. Yeah, that's right. She was closer to Professor Waldwieder, and she helped a lot the Conscientiology. But when she passed away, when she decimated, she came back to the exophysical and she said, bye-bye. I'm not going to stay here anymore. And she kind of had a farewell projection with Professor Waldwieder. We have other comments here. Unfortunately, we are just finishing our conversation today, but I'd like to mention some comments that people had here in the comment section. Doris Belling, so good with all the due emphasis to know that these ideas are and thoughts are available. And Andrea Kitties says, I consider a priority to study the Serenissimus traits that we already have and how to potentialize them. A very good comment, Andrea. That's what we are aiming to, is to see exactly what we are already able to evolve and to work on this. I would like to continue talking about this, for one more hour, but unfortunately we are finishing our conversation today. But before finishing the conversation today, I would like to talk about this dictionary by Ulysses Schlosser. Thank you very much, Ulysses, for this publication. This is an amazing book. Unfortunately, we have in Portuguese, not in English yet, but for those who speak Portuguese, I highly recommend the read of this Dicionário Neurológico de Parafenomenologia by Ulysses Schlosser. We are just putting here in the comment section the link for you to buy this dictionary by Ulysses, right? It's a very a must-have book at home. People, thank you very much for participation, Ulysses Schlosser, Patricia Barbosa, and Atina. Your final words. Let's go for the final words. Let's stretch just a bit more our talk for your wrapping up words, please. Does anyone say?
I will start. It's okay. I would like to finish with the idea that the more we know about Homo sapiens serenissimus, the better is for our evolution. And I would also like to thank you again for inviting me, and hope to have another opportunity to develop and continue this debate. Thank you.
Patricia?
I also like to thank you for the invitation and participation. And who knows, I hope that this is kind of inspirational presentation and talk as well. And make this your personal laboratory. Try to perceive the energies. Let's evolve together. And who knows, you're inspired and start feeling these things. And yes, let's go for the evolution. Thank you.
Very nice. Ulysses?
Very good to hear from you. And also, I was thinking in a kind of message similar to the words of Patricia. So, all of us, we may look for the best inside ourselves, trying to be constant. But mainly, if we are able to develop effort, to develop determination, to work with existence, we may be closer to this evolutionary perspective. And I think that this is the way: cosmoethics, assistance, and look for the best inside ourselves. So thank you so much. Okay, see you next time.
Very nice, people. Thank you for your participation. And I have to say that the next Let's Talk will be held May 28th. We'll be talking about the challenges of global teaching. We'll be talking about what the struggle we have to deal with different cultures, different people from different countries, nationalities, people from all walks of life, how to address them and work with clarification task. So next Let's Talk, May 28th, the challenges of the global teaching. See you there. Have a nice day. Have a nice, actually, long weekend. We have a holiday tomorrow here in Brazil, but I think that everyone else, right? Because it's May 1st, the
May
Labor
1st.
Day. So have a nice long weekend. Bye-bye. Thank you for the participation.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
See you.